If I told you that there was a film which received a 10-minute standing ovation at the 2012 Toronto Film Festival, which one would you guess that it was? You might be thinking it was the People's Choice Award winner, Silver Linings Playbook, or the award's runner-up, Argo, or Looper, which has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, despite all of these being really solid movies, it was actually the Wachowskis' film Cloud Atlas which elicited such a tremendous positive response at its premiere. And that's pretty wild when you think about it, a 10-minute standing ovation. So with that in mind, even if you haven't seen this film, this is going to be such a fascinating breakdown of this movie and its spiritual implications that you're going to want to see this movie at least 3 times and make 100 more connections that I didn't get to cover in this short video. The sheer scale of this movie, which spans 6 different timelines over 500 years, is enough to bring about a captivating sense of spiritual wonder. But the real charm of this movie is that it brings powerful spiritual laws to life in unique ways. And because of the complexity of this film, I would say don't even worry about spoilers. This movie has so many moving parts that you can't really spoil it. If anything, I think this video will only increase your desire to watch the film if you haven't seen it already. So without further ado, welcome to Movie Meditations. Let's sail back to 2012 as we discuss the true about the glorious symphony of a film that is Cloud Atlas. There is a character arc in this story that beautifully highlights a key spiritual principle with practical applications, and it's pretty mind-blowing if you missed this on the first watch through, which I totally did. It's the character arc of actor Jim Broadbent. Okay, you might be wondering why I'm referring to the character arc as that of the actor and not of the character's name. Well, strap in for a second because this is not a normal film where one actor plays one role. As I mentioned, this film has 6 different stories spanning 6 different points in time: 1849, 1936, 1973, 2012, 2144, and 2321. Yeah, so this is intense. The individual souls of characters feature in multiple time periods as different reincarnated versions of themselves. And the Wachowskis used a beautiful device to track the same soul living through different timelines across different ages. They use the same actor to represent the same soul in different makeup and prosthetics, etc. So each actor plays several different human roles that are of the same reincarnated soul. Don't let that intimidate or overwhelm you. It can be a lot to process on the first watch through, but the payoff is so worth it. And in this video, we're just going to focus on one character in 2 different incarnations. So back to Broadbent's character. In 1936 England, Broadbent's character, Vivian Ayres, is an esteemed composer who has become old and sickly and thus unable to produce good work for some time. So he allows a young man, Robert Frobisher, who is Ben Whishaw's character's soul, to be his assistant in creating a piece that he's had in his head for some time. However, despite some beautiful work coming through them both, their relationship quickly sours and the young man, played by Whishaw, wants to leave the oppressive grip of the old composer and publish the piece on his own. However, Ayres, Broadbent's soul, does some digging and finds out about Frobisher's bisexual past and blackmails him by threatening to tell the whole music community about it if he leaves, and thus ruining his reputation, which effectively traps him in the mansion to finish the piece. So then we jump ahead to 2012 London, and the soul of Broadbent is now Timothy Cavendish, a publisher who is fleeing a gang who are after him for profits of book sales which he took for himself after the author, Tom Hanks' soul, was thrown in jail.
What the fuck? Where's our money? The law says. Law!
Cavendish pleads with his brother to help, but his brother, who doesn't want anything to do with him, sends Cavendish to what he thinks is a hotel, but ends up being an abusive nursing home owned by his brother, where he signs his rights away upon check-in. The place he thought was his refuge quickly becomes a prison in which he is trapped. Okay, you might be picking up on what I'm throwing down here. The story of Broadbent's soul brings the spiritual framework of karma to life in a way that not many other works of art have. Let's look at 2 infractions, you could say, Broadbent's soul commits against his other fellow souls in this 1936 incarnation. First, he gives refuge to someone fleeing persecution, only to turn that place into one of confinement for the refugee. Secondly, in that same incarnation, he tries to take full credit of the work for a joint effort on a creative project. In the later incarnation, both of these karmic debts come due. In 2012, after his soul's pattern of trying to reap all of the rewards of a joint endeavor show its head again, he becomes the one now held against his will in the same location of which it was done to him. His mansion as Vivian Ayres has now been converted into a nursing home where he is now trapped. This is a beautiful, symmetric representation of the spiritual law of karmic patterns repeating themselves until a lesson is learned. So what lesson was learned in this case? Well, 1930s Broadbent clearly doesn't play well with others. He needs the help of a team to make something beautiful, but doesn't want to give up the credit. In general, he behaves selfishly, using people for his own purposes. Now forward to 2012, he tries unsuccessfully to escape the abusive home by himself, but it's only when he decides to work with a team could he attain freedom. And this is particularly emphasized in the moment when he selflessly goes back for Mr. Minx, a clear oddball of the group, to save him and affirms his position as a team player. And the beauty of it is that it's actually Mr. Meeks who, in the end, basically saves them all. Once Broadbent learns this lesson, he gains outer and inner freedom, and with this newly evolved perspective is able to connect with the love of his life. And the spiritual law in play here is the law of karma will be upheld at some time or another in one way or another. And it's the universe's way of teaching us how to experience the love that we already are. When we recognize this universal law, then we can see unpleasant times in front of us as a challenge or an opportunity to burn away past karmas and grow, instead of as unfair problems here to simply torment us. Sometimes our minds get caught up in thinking about how things shouldn't be this way, or I didn't deserve this, but when we see life from a bigger context, we see how these tough times are opportunities for us to uncover a strength, depth, and love inside of us. Broadbent's soul's trying time as Timothy Cavendish is what forced him to grow in learning how to use teamwork and being selfless, which ultimately opened his heart in a way to find love, which was represented here once again in the romantic form. The framework of karma is such a powerful lens through which to see life, and it's important to remember it's not fatalistic. Your mindset and actions in the present moment drive what karmas get played out and how intensely. This is just a very surface level discussion of a topic that's inexhaustible. And if you're interested in a more in-depth dive into the mysteries of karma and reincarnation, consider checking out these videos from spiritual leader and global ambassador of peace, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, where he talks about the different types of karma, which types of karma can be avoided and altered and which cannot, and also why bad things happen to good people. I hope this provides you enough to meditate on until next time.